I have a mustache again, and I am here for another live stream. Once again, I'm going to be promoting donating to help people that have been affected by the war going on in Ukraine. Please consider making a donation. A lot of this goes to helping people that have been displaced by the war, not even necessarily uh, providing funds for ammo or things like that, if that's not something you're in support of. So yeah, please give that a consideration. And now to get started with the stream, let me share my screen. So we have been working on this project, and today we are not going to be adding any more features to it. I think it's pretty feature complete, and I'll be deploying that somewhere when I'm up to it. But what I want to get into is checking out writing tests for a project like this. Vitest.dev. Homepage seems to be broken. Well, that's unfortunate. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we actually don't need to be running this local dev server. It's fine if it's broken. What I want is, yes, still in development, isn't stable, I understand. But we're going to get started playing around with it. So install Vitest, and then we need to configure Vitest. Reconfig. On a different configuration. So let's go ahead and create it as if we were going to be making a Vite config. I don't know if we'll be using Vite at any point in the future, but it might as well use both while we're at it. So with that, I think we're also going to need, I feel like we'd probably also need to install Vite, but for now, I guess we can do with this. Defines a path, test itself and test property in your Vite config. Okay. I guess we can get started with that. And then command line references, that's fine. For now, let's add both of these to our project. So scripts, dependencies, let's put it in the scripts, dev, test, and coverage. So let's see what we have so far. Npm Run test. No test files found. Cool, that makes sense. Okay, we have watch commands, which is kind of cool. Versions, all of this stuff, examples. Okay, let's check out this basic example, I guess, on StackBlitz. And in the meantime, using unreleased commits, community, okay, features. That's unfortunate. Looks like it's still under development. But let's see. API reference test. Okay. That's how we write a test. Cool. Skip test only. Test.concurrent. Marks consecutive tests to be run, consecutive tests to be run in parallel. So it seems like we can run multiple tests at the same time. So I don't know why I wouldn't just run everything concurrently. That's probably how it gets to be a little bit faster. Describe, okay. And I kind of wonder how much it does concurrently. Running tests concurrently. Oh, annoying. So maybe I can find it better in the docs. Let's go to docs. Is features in here somewhere? Okay. Oh, I bet it's in the source folder. There we go. Source. Features list. Okay. Snapshots, chai, okay. Number to concurrency. Number to currency. Okay, so skip to in a suite to avoid running a particular describe blocks. Why would I ever want to skip that? I don't know. Use to only run certain suites. Okay. Expect not to do to be close to. Interesting. To be defined, to be undefined, truthy, falsy, null, not a number, type of, instance of. Cool. I think I can get going from here. Rejects. That'll be a good one. Wait, expect doot dot rejects to throw. Okay, cool. All right, I think that's good enough for me to get going. I want to look up describe. Yeah, I'm just going to copy that. And then we're going to write our first test. So let's try. That's going to call HTTP request. That's going to involve mocking. Maybe I don't do that right away. I might write a test for some of these. Create response. Sure. Well, that'll be an easy test. So let's start with that. So I'm going to add a file. I'm going to call it index.test.js. And then we will pass in our tests that we copied over. Okay. Then from there, what's the difference between test and expect or assert? Okay, test. Defines a set of related expectations. It receives the test name and a function that holds the expectation. Okay. I see, because I need the body of the test to run here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So I describe a suite, and then I describe a test, and these can all run concurrently. It's fine with me. I'll get rid of these extra ones. So we just start with our first concurrent test. And then I also want expect so that I can actually make my assertions. Say expect 1 to be 1. Sure. Let's see if we have this all hooked up correctly. I'm not sure it's actually going to find the test files still. It's sure going to take its time. Oh, there we go. Oop. Okay, cool. So it found one, and now it's waiting for file changes. I guess expect 1 to be 2, and we hit save. And now it reruns our test, and it says, hey, you have a failed test, 1 of 1. Cool. Expected to, received 1. Hit save again, and that should run automatically. Cool. Pretty quick. I like that. And now what I need to do is actually import my stuff. So let's import create response from index.js. And then I'm going to say, let's see, const result equals create response is not an asynchronous function, so I don't need that to be async. Create response tells me what it takes, a body, which could be a string. And we're going to say, so here's where I need to get also a little bit more creative, because I actually want to randomly generate some data so I don't know what's coming in here. So let's get rid of that. And let's say Vitest, and then import everything as faker from faker. What is it? I know I'm using it somewhere. There we go. So let's go back to our tests. We're going to import some fake data. And we're going to say that body equals faker dot random word. Actually, I'm going to pull this up into the top and say random word. So the reason why I'm doing that is because every time this test suite runs, we have a couple different times that things run. So if let's say we have something like this, and then we have something like this, right? So what we end up here with is 2 test suites, inside of which we have functions that then run their own tests. So this first test suite has 2 tests in it. So when this whole test runs, and I want to generate a random word, if I do that within this test, and then later on I need another random word, I'm basically having to rerun this get random word thing multiple times, maybe once for each test, right? And by pulling it up here, I can ensure that I only actually run that function once, and then I have a reusable random word that can be used in multiple tests simultaneously. Now, that may not always be the case. When that makes sense is if we can reuse the same word. I'm generating it randomly so that I can't like somehow cheat the test with hard-coded values. So we want some sense of chaos in here, but it's okay to just generate it once and then kind of cache that value and reuse it. So what's next? So I have my random word, and then let's see. I need my actual file that I'm testing. So there's a couple things that this should return, or that this should do, right? I want to make sure that, let's see, the body is a required parameter. Everything else is optional. Is that right? It should be optional because oh, why don't I have the headers there? I feel like that should be there. Yeah, so let's say I'm going to create a suite called create response. So that's going to make it easier to identify when the test runs. And then I want my test to actually have a name. We can assume that, well, let's just see what happens if I run it with nothing. Right. It's rerunning my tests. We get body undefined, status headers, deny reason. Cool. I think what we can do with that is say that it generates default values. And I expect the result of this function to match. I think match should work. Well, and I think I can pull this out. So that's what we get. Now, why did I just console log that and then paste that there? Is because I know that that's the default behavior. And if anything ever changes in the future, and I know that this should be the behavior if this runs without any parameters, then this will be a good way to check that nothing has broken. So we have something broken. Re_exec is not a function. So I'm guessing that needs to match the object. Syntax error on my part, perhaps. Looks like we're passing. Cool. Next. Next test is cool. That is exactly what I was going to write. I think we're missing one little parentheses there. And now it looks like we have one passing test file with two passing tests. Cool. I'm going to check out Npm Run Coverage so we can see how this coverage report should look. Cannot find dependency C8. Interesting. Okay, let's search for the coverage. It's going to be under features. Native code coverage via C8. All right, well, let's install it. Okay. Looks like our coverage running is going. And so what is this coverage thing? It should generate a report for us that shows us how much of our code is covered by the test that we've written. So I really shouldn't have a lot uh, of coverage because I've only written 2 tests for for a single file. And okay, it looks like it is only covering that one file. It doesn't know that I want my other files to be covered. That's probably not the best way to report on coverage, um, but it does make me feel good. So that's nice. But in reality, let's see. Some things that we don't have covered here is what happens if we pass in different values for the options here. Um, so, for example, different header, different status. Let's see. Well, let's get into that. What are you going to tell me? Test concurrent generates default value with body and status, and then cool. I like that test. Body and headers, xfoo and bar. Body, status, and headers. That's a bit much, more than I needed, but it's less actual writing for me. So let's throw the deny reason on there. And you gonna do any more? No, that's all you got? That's great. That's all I need. Let's hit save. And then what I want to do here is actually these hard-coded values might not be exactly what I want. So let's say instead of random word, I'm going to do well, let's say random body, and then we'll do another one for the random header key, random header value. We'll do random status is going to be faker dot helpers dot randomize, yeah, 200, 400, 500. Cool. And then we'll do faker dot random words for the random deny reason. Cool. That should get us all of the data that we need. So now we'll copy the status. The 201 should always be a random status. The xfoo should always be, we're going to say, not that it really matters, but we might as well make it look kind of like an actual header. And then the string bar is always going to be a random header value. And then the deny reason. should be here, test. Cool, hit save. Everything looks like it got messed up. Not sure really what happened. So that looks good, that looks good. Down here we have, that's because these cannot work like that. Those have to be in a little square bracket. And then that header looks good. Cool. Generates default value is no longer accurate. So let's see. Generates default values. Adds body to response. Let's see. Adds status to response. Adds headers to response. And then I guess this should really be like, whatever. I think I'm going to skip this test where it does a random, let's see, we've covered the random status, we've covered the random header. I'm going to get rid of this one and just do the deny reason. Okay. Add deny reason to response. Cool. Excuse me. And then instead of, so here we pass in the status, here we pass in the headers, here we're passing in all of them. So I don't really care about, let's see, we've got, I just want the deny reason. So that looks good. And then the headers should be just the default headers values. The status should be 200, and that looks pretty good. Technically, slightly worse tests, but I think they make it a little more sense and make it definitely more maintainable. Having them written like that instead of having every single different permutation of that object that could go in. Cool. So that's how I like to write my unit tests. And now I feel pretty good that if something changes, it should work just fine. Part of that is also covered by this type definition stuff. Yeah. Well, that's the first test done. So let's move on to something else that's going to be kind of easy. Oh, look at that. There's our coverage report. That's pretty cool. I don't want to keep that. It might be a good idea if you're doing coverages to ignore those reports. But for now, this is good. Okay, next set of tests. Maybe cookies is going to be a really good one to write some tests for. So let's do that. I'm going to copy this over here. That's actually not what I wanted to copy. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to copy the test file over here. And we are going to pull from this file, we are going to pull set cookie and cookies, I think. As soon as it figures out its life, set cookies, and or cookies and set cookie. Okay, so now I think I can delete all this. I'm gonna cancel or comment out all that, and I'm going to start with I'm going to start with cookies. And this is going to say, let's see, how is cookies supposed to work? So the cool thing is here, because we have documentation around it, I should be able to see, and we've basically built it. We've built it to based on the documentation. We can go down to the methods for cookies. The cookies equals new cookies. So since we're describing that in here, what we're going to do is I'm going to set up the values inside here, inside of this function. And instead of using this request get headers, we know that this is going to be a cookie string. So now we just need to build that. Const cookie string equals and now I need to start randomly generating some stuff. So we'll say random key is that, random value is the same thing, and we're going to say the cookie key and value is that. Then we also might as well build the entire cookie string out so it can have other things like, that's not what I want. Oh no, that's right. That's right. A cookie string from the headers is not going to tell me whether it's HTTP only or same site or whatever. It's really just going to be a random key and value. So I think we're safe to generate those this way. On demand, random key, random value, and then we'll kind of do that again. So we have at least 2 cookies in our string. So these can still be kind of hidden. And then we're going to create new cookies from that. Const cookies equals a new cookie. So I think what I'm going to do the first check is cookies dot to header. The result of cookies to header is going to be, and it should actually match that cookie string. So let's see how that's going. It's rerunning my tests. Okay, we have something failed. Ball cross-platform e-services equals shirt. Cool. To be ball cross-platform e-services equals shirt. Object is equality. So we have something failed here. Okay, that's my error. Is that I actually fixed this a different project. So we're going to go my local edge workers, built-ins, cookies. I think I fixed that over here. Well, let's look at our code. So this is the interesting thing about doing test-driven development is if I leave off, well, first of all, that space shouldn't be there. If I leave off this extra semicolon, then my tests actually pass. So right, let's say a new test that's going to say generates the default values. Yeah, sure. It I don't know, prints string of cookies. I'm actually going to generate a new block, a new describe block called cookies.toHeader, which will house these. And this way we're describing a block for cookies, and we're describing each of those methods on that cookies class. So this works correctly. Let's see. It doesn't work correctly if we have an extra semicolon at the end. Although it should work correctly, because I'm effectively exiting early if we don't have a key. So let's see here. Cookie string plus, semicolon and space, which is what we had before. So this should now error because we're getting something as undefined. So let's go into our code and see if we can log what we've got here. Console log the key and the value. And that should rerun. And I believe it should be logging something. Is it not going to log anything? How about an object? Let's try console log big string of exclamation marks. Rerunning all my tests. And it's not logging anything to my console, which is annoying. Well, that's something that I would like to see the Vitest system support, is logging to the console. Because right now it's saying that this is what I expect, which is what I expect. and this is what I'm receiving. So that's annoying. I'm going to have to take this somewhere else then. Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong place. Set cookie. Why didn't anyone tell me? Okay, so that's on set cookie, and we are using the cookies header. And that makes sense. We are not building it correctly in the same way that we are here. So let me copy this code. And I'll come down here. The cookies header, we split. We actually want to split at the semicolon. And let me see. I think it's actually going to look a lot like this. Except I'm not going to have all those values. Because I'm just going to have the key and value pair. But someone could pass in their own custom string for whatever reason. So we have to account for that. So, okay, got it. The name and value. Okay, we can keep that the same. Let name and value. Let's pull this out here. That's going to go there. The name is going to be the name. And we're going to trim those values, which I think is fine. Reassign those values and then push that data up. So now that that's going, we have the issue with generating everything to lowercase. We don't want to do that. And if we look at our code now, we see that our tests are passing. Great. So that's a handy little cool thing that test-driven development can help us with, is that it helped us catch an error where in general, where's my code? There's my code. So in general, we can expect cookie headers to look something like this, with a space in between that and a space in between that and no semicolon at the end. If we read it from the headers that we get on the request, this is what it will look like. But because it's possible for a user to pass in a cookie thing that looks like this, we want our code to actually handle that all right. So now I think it's catching that. And we're going to say it handles slightly malformed strings. So semicolon at the end handles just fine. Cookies. Oops. Cookies 2. And cookies. Oops. 2. And we're going to say on this one, instead of appending a semicolon to the end, we're going to say this is going to be split on the semicolon space and join it with just a semicolon. So no space in between the semicolons. And it looks like everything is passing. Looks good. That's awesome. So I'm actually going to rewrite this. It handles trailing semicolons. And then whoop, whoop. And we'll say you. And it handles cookies without spaces. Cool. So far, so good. To header, I think we've got. All right. Next one. Let's do get. Nope, that's on set cookie. Methods for cookies. No, that's right. 2 headers and then get. What's the example here? Cool. So a new test suite is what we want. And we're going to say get test.concurrent returns the cookie value. Sure. Cookies is that. Expect cookies.get fakers. No, that's not what I want. I guess what I want is name 1 and name 2. Oh, value 1. And then this is going to be name 2 and value 2. And then we're going to say up here const name 1 equals that. Same with that, same with that, same with that and that. So in this way, we have some cached values when this suite of tests run. And then I'm going to say that I expect get name1 to be value 1, name 1. And then we're going to do the same here, name 2 to be value 2. We have failed to parse source for import analysis because invalid JS syntax. Okay, right. Let's try that now. So I'm expecting interesting. Do I always expect it to have that trailing semicolon? I think maybe I do. Everything. Okay, so it looks like the one other code change that I have in my broken code is that toHeader should join everything and then add a semicolon. Okay, everything's working now, which I think makes sense. I think that makes sense. Yeah, so toHeader should return cookie equals value 2, value 1, value 2. Yeah, and it should have a semicolon at the end. Okay, I think that's working as designed. And we are getting the value. So now let's try get all. Go back to our tests. We can assume that that's working. So let's do the next test for get all. And this returns all values for cookies with same name. So now I need to add another cookie with the same name. I feel like maybe it makes sense to do add first in case someone's looking at this wondering kind of how it works. Let's put add in there. So add, what should add do? Weep, 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 weep. Here we go, cookies.add. It does nothing if there's no name or value. Okay, then we're gonna go cookies.add with that. Cookies.add empty string. Cookies.add yo. Well, let's say random stuff again. Name equals faker.random word. And we're going to say value is that. Going to add a name. And then here we're going to put an empty string and we're going to add the value. And then lastly, we're going to do one with the name and the value. And after each one of these, I expect cookies dot to header to be, what was it? The cookie string. Okay. And I think we can do this in the next test. So let's comment that out and see how we're looking. So far, everything's working as expected. And if I copy this, paste it, remove up to there, and then you're going to remove that. Okay, I expect my string to, can I say to include? No. But I can say I expect my string dot includes And I expect my string to include name equals the value. And let's see how this is going to look. It looks like I've got that test passing. It's really hard to tell when something changes. Okay. I've got 7 tests in cookies. 49 milliseconds. That's pretty great. So this, let's see. I don't want to do that. It adds the name and value to a cookie string. Okay, that is as far as I'm going to get today. We're going to continue with writing tests tomorrow, which is super fun and exciting. But something that's pretty cool about this is if we quit and we run our coverage report, I think we should see more files are tested and we'll have less than 100% coverage. So let's see what we've got. Okay, so those are my 2 tests. Everything passes. And I think it's still thinking about stuff. That took 12 seconds. Yep, here we go. So this is what my coverage report, this is more what I would expect a coverage report to look like. So I'm sure that we can set the configuration such that it checks every single JS file. And it looks like I have about half of my total project statements are covered, at least the ones in the files that we're looking at. And in cookies, only about 48% are covered. We have different branches, which is like if we have an if or an else statement or a switch or something like that. So most of those are covered. And then different functions, about half of my functions, that makes sense because we are only testing cookies so far. We haven't tested set cookies or all of the methods. And then the number of lines, about half. So here it's going to show me all the lines that I have not covered yet. So if I go to 142 through 145 on the source code, we can see that 142 through 145, this line or this code is not covered. Yeah, pretty interesting. We'll get there. We'll see if we can finish this up tomorrow. And then we'll finish all of the testing for all of these built-ins. And then I guess we probably need to look into these as well. This one shouldn't be too bad. Maybe we can export these functions. We'll look into that. Yeah, we'll look into that. Should be fun. All right. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I hope that you enjoyed this little dive into writing tests and using Vitest. It looks like it's a little bit fast. This time here is a little bit slow, but that's because it's generating coverage report. This is much faster, although it definitely doesn't feel like 30 milliseconds when I start the test. If I just run this test, how long is this going to take? Okay, this is taking a while. Maybe the actual test runners are fast. So that's it. 8 seconds for 2 tests. That's okay. In thread, 40 milliseconds. That's the fast part. So it's like building up the test that's kind of slow. I don't know what this is. 21,000% something. So yeah, we'll look at doing some more of these tests later, and then eventually we'll get into some Cypress stuff, which will be really fun. In the meantime, thank you for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what your thoughts are. If you have questions or comments, Make sure to like and follow and subscribe and share all the things. And I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. Bye.